What if the very thing you've been asking for is already making its way to you? What if the only thing standing between you and your desire is the belief that it is still far away? Most people spend their lives chasing, forcing, and struggling to make things happen. They search for signs, wonder when their breakthrough will come, and constantly ask, how? But there is a higher way, a simpler way. The moment you stop living as someone who wants and begin living as someone who already has, everything changes. The moment you relax into the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you stop sending a message of lack and begin broadcasting a state of possession. Reality does not respond to your words alone. It responds to your deepest assumptions, your dominant feelings, and the image you consistently hold of yourself. Today, I invite you to release the struggle. Let go of the need to force outcomes. Let go of the fear that it may never happen. Instead, relax into the feeling that what you desire is already yours. Because when you truly accept it within, the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to learn could completely transform the way you manifest every area of your life. Most people believe that their results in life are determined by their actions alone. They think that if they work harder, push more, or find the perfect strategy, their desires will finally become reality. While action certainly has its place, there is something far more powerful operating behind the scenes. Every experience begins within. Before anything appears in the outer world, it first exists as a state of consciousness. The circumstances you encounter, the opportunities you receive, and even the way others respond to you are often reflections of the feelings you consistently entertain. This is why the feeling you carry within yourself is so important. It is the invisible force that shapes your visible reality. Think about the moments in your life when things seem to flow effortlessly. Chances are, during those times, you felt confident, secure, and certain. You were not consumed by fear or doubt. You expected good things to happen. And because of that expectation, you naturally moved through life differently. On the other hand, consider the times when you felt anxious, worried, or convinced that something would go wrong. Those feelings often colored your experiences and influenced the outcomes you received. This happens because feelings are not merely emotional reactions. They are signals of the state you are occupying. They reveal what you believe to be true about yourself and your world. When people focus entirely on what they can see with their physical eyes, they often become trapped by current circumstances. If the bank account looks empty, they feel poor. If opportunities seem scarce, they feel limited. If relationships are struggling, they feel unloved. Yet this approach keeps them locked in a cycle where external conditions dictate internal feelings. True transformation begins when the process is reversed. Instead of allowing circumstances to determine how you feel, you deliberately choose the feeling you would have if your desired outcome were already a fact. You begin to feel abundance before the money arrives. You feel confidence before the success appears. You feel loved before the relationship changes. In doing so, you move into a new state of consciousness. This may seem simple, but it is one of the most profound shifts a person can make. The world constantly encourages people to react to appearances. It teaches them to wait for evidence before they believe. Yet real change occurs when belief comes first. The feeling of already having what you desire creates a new internal reality. As this feeling becomes familiar, your thoughts, decisions, and actions naturally align with it. You stop operating from fear and begin acting from certainty. Opportunities that once seemed invisible become noticeable. Ideas begin to flow more freely. Confidence replaces hesitation. Without forcing anything, you start becoming the version of yourself who naturally experiences the very things you desire. Many people make the mistake of treating feeling as something temporary. They attempt to generate a positive emotion for a few moments and then return to their old patterns of doubt. But the secret is not in occasional bursts of enthusiasm. It is in consistently dwelling in the feeling of fulfillment. This means returning to that inner state whenever fear arises. It means refusing to let temporary appearances convince you that your desire is impossible. It means cultivating an inner conviction so strong that external circumstances lose their power to shake you. Imagine planting a seed in fertile soil. Once the seed is planted, you do not dig it up every day to check whether it is growing. You trust the process. In the same way, when you accept a desired state within yourself, your role is to remain faithful to the feeling that it is already accomplished. The outer world may not change immediately, but that does not mean nothing is happening. Growth often occurs beneath the surface long before it becomes visible. The feeling is the bridge between imagination and reality. It is the language through which your assumptions become experiences. When you repeatedly occupy the feeling of already being the person you wish to become, you begin to transform from the inside out. And as your inner world changes, your outer world inevitably follows. That is why the feeling is not merely important. It is the very foundation upon which all lasting transformation is built. One of the greatest reasons people fail to experience the life they desire is that they spend all their energy chasing what they want. They chase success, chase money, chase recognition, chase relationships, and chase opportunities. They believe that their desires exist somewhere outside of themselves and that they must constantly pursue them in order to make them real. This creates a state of separation. The very act of chasing implies that what you want is distant, unavailable, or beyond your reach. Every time you think, I need to get it, you reinforce the idea that you do not already possess it. As long as you remain in that state of wanting, you continue to experience more wanting. Consider the difference between a person who desires confidence and a person who is confident. The one who desires confidence is always searching for proof that they are worthy. They compare themselves to others, seek validation, and constantly wonder whether they measure up. The confident person, however, does not spend their days trying to become confident. They simply express the qualities of confidence because it has become part of their identity. Their actions flow naturally from who they believe themselves to be. The same principle applies to every area of life. The goal is not to endlessly pursue the desired state, but to embody it. Many people ask, how can I become successful? Yet a more powerful question is, how would I think, feel, and act if I were already successful? This subtle shift changes everything. Instead of focusing on the gap between where you are and where you want to be, you begin occupying the state of the person who already has the result. You stop looking at life through the eyes of lack and start seeing it through the eyes of fulfillment. The moment you do this, your relationship with your desire changes completely. When people chase their dreams, they often become obsessed with time. They wonder when it will happen, how it will happen, and why it has not happened yet. Every day becomes a test of whether their desire is getting closer. They search for signs and become discouraged when immediate evidence does not appear. This constant monitoring only strengthens the feeling that the desire is absent. But when you begin being rather than chasing, your focus shifts. You no longer spend your energy trying to force an outcome. Instead, you cultivate the inner state that corresponds to its fulfillment. Imagine someone who desires financial abundance. If they continue identifying as someone who is struggling, fearful, and limited, they remain emotionally connected to scarcity. Even if they dream about wealth, their dominant state remains unchanged. But if they begin to think from abundance rather than of abundance, everything starts to shift. They carry themselves differently. They make decisions from confidence rather than fear. They become receptive to opportunities they might have ignored before. The change begins within, but its effects eventually appear without. This does not mean pretending or denying present circumstances. It means choosing not to let those circumstances define your identity. There is a difference between experiencing a temporary condition and accepting it as who you are. You may currently face challenges, but you do not have to make them your permanent story. You have the ability to step into a new state mentally and emotionally before physical evidence appears. In doing so, you free yourself from the limitations of your current situation. The most powerful transformations occur when a person stops trying to become and starts accepting that they already are. Instead of saying, "One day I will be successful," they begin thinking from the perspective of success. Instead of saying, "I hope I become loved," they embrace the feeling of already being worthy and valued. Instead of waiting for life to change before they change first. The truth is that what you seek is not created by chasing. It is revealed through being. The person you wish to become already exists as a possibility within you. Your task is not to run after that version of yourself, but to step into it. Adopt the thoughts, feelings, and assumptions that belong to the fulfilled version of you. Make them familiar. Make them natural. When your inner identity changes, your outer experiences begin to reflect that change. Stop chasing what you desire as though it exists somewhere far away. Become the person who already possesses it. Live from that state. Think from that state. Feel from that state. When you do, you will discover that what once seemed distant begins moving effortlessly into your experience. The moment you stop chasing and start being is the moment everything begins to change. One of the most overlooked truths about manifestation is that receiving is not something that happens through strain, force, or constant effort. Many people believe that if they worry enough, think about their desire enough, or work themselves into a state of emotional intensity, they will somehow make it arrive faster. Yet the opposite is often true. The more tension you attach to a desire, the more you reinforce the feeling that it is missing. The more desperately you try to force an outcome, the more you remain aware of its absence. This is why relaxation is such a powerful state. Relaxation is not giving up on your desire, it is giving up the struggle around it. Think about how you feel when you know something is already yours. You do not obsess over it. You do not spend every hour wondering whether it will arrive. You do not constantly search for evidence of its existence. There is a natural sense of ease that comes with possession. When something belongs to you, you feel secure about it. You trust its presence in your life. In the same way, when you begin to assume that your desire is already fulfilled, a sense of calm naturally follows. The need to force control and worry starts to fade because you are no longer operating from uncertainty. Many people unknowingly block themselves by living in a state of tension. They repeatedly ask questions such as, "When will it happen? Why hasn't it happened yet?" Or, "What if it never happens?" These questions arise from doubt and fear. They keep the mind focused on the lack of the desired result. Every moment spent worrying is a moment spent affirming that the goal is still absent. This creates an inner conflict where a person says they want something while emotionally identifying with not having it. The result is frustration, impatience, and exhaustion. Relaxation breaks this cycle. It allows you to release the emotional grip you have placed on your desire. It helps you move from a state of wanting into a state of trusting. When you relax, you stop trying to control every detail of how your desire will unfold. You stop demanding immediate proof from the outer world. Instead, you rest in the assumption that what you have accepted within is already working its way into expression. This inner peace becomes a sign that you are aligned with the state of fulfillment rather than the state of lack. Consider a gardener who plants a seed in fertile soil. Once the seed is planted, the gardener does not stand over it every hour, digging into the earth to see whether roots have formed. Such behavior would only damage the growth process. Instead, the gardener waters the seed, trusts the process, and allows nature to do its work. The same principle applies to your desires. Once you have impressed a new state upon your mind through feeling and assumption, your task is not to continually interfere with doubt and fear. Your task is to trust and allow. Relaxation also creates mental clarity. When the mind is overwhelmed by anxiety, it becomes difficult to recognize opportunities, insights, and solutions. Fear narrows perception and keeps attention locked on problems. A relaxed mind, however, is open and receptive. It notices possibilities that were previously overlooked. It becomes easier to make decisions, take inspired action, and move confidently through life. What once seemed impossible begins to appear achievable because you are no longer viewing reality through the lens of stress and limitation. This does not mean that challenges will never arise. There may still be moments when circumstances seem to contradict your desire. There may be days when doubt tries to return. The key is not to fight those moments, but to gently return to the feeling of calm certainty. Remind yourself that appearances are temporary and that your inner state is the true source of transformation. Each time you choose trust over fear, you strengthen your connection to the reality you wish to experience. The deepest form of faith is relaxation. It is the ability to remain at peace even when the outcome is not yet visible. It is the confidence that what you have accepted internally is already unfolding in ways you may not yet see. Relaxation is not weakness. It is quiet strength. It is the refusal to let fear dictate your state of mind. It is the understanding that what is truly yours does not need to be chased or forced. When you relax into the feeling of fulfillment, you create the ideal condition for receiving. You move from resistance to allowance, from struggle to trust, from uncertainty to confidence. And in that state of peaceful expectation, you become open to the very thing you have been imagining. The door to receiving has always been there. Relaxation is what allows you to walk through it. At the heart of all transformation lies a simple yet powerful principle. Assume that your desire has already been fulfilled. Most people spend their lives waiting for external circumstances to change before they allow themselves to feel successful, secure, loved, or accomplished. They believe that once the evidence appears, then they will finally be able to experience the emotions they seek. But this way of thinking keeps them trapped in a cycle of waiting. They are constantly looking outside themselves for permission to feel complete. The truth is that the inner experience must come first. The moment you assume that your desire is already a reality, you begin creating a new foundation upon which your future experiences can be built. To assume the wish fulfilled means to mentally and emotionally move into the state you would occupy if your desire were already accomplished. It is not merely thinking positive thoughts or repeating words without conviction. It is a shift in identity. It is the decision to see yourself as the person you would naturally be if your goal had already been realized. If you desired financial abundance, how would you feel? If you desired a loving relationship, how would you think about yourself? If you desired success, confidence, or freedom, what emotions would naturally accompany those experiences? These are the feelings you must begin embracing now rather than postponing them until some future moment. The human mind often struggles with this concept because it is conditioned to rely on physical evidence. People are taught to believe only what they can see, hear, and touch. As a result, they become dependent on external circumstances to determine their inner state. Yet every significant achievement in life begins as an unseen possibility before it becomes a visible reality. Every invention, every business, every accomplishment, and every great transformation existed first in the imagination of someone who dared to accept it internally before it appeared externally. The ability to assume the wish fulfilled is the ability to live from the end rather than from the beginning. Imagine an actor preparing for an important role. They do not simply memorize lines. They immerse themselves in the character. They adopt the character's mindset, emotions, and behavior until it feels natural. In the same way, when you assume your wish fulfilled, you step into the role of the person who already possesses the desired outcome. You think from that perspective. You react from that perspective. You make decisions from that perspective. Over time, the state becomes so familiar that it no longer feels like an act. It begins to feel like your true identity. One of the most effective ways to cultivate this assumption is through imagination. Take a moment each day to create a scene that implies your desire has already been achieved. Keep it simple and vivid. Imagine receiving congratulations, enjoying the benefits of your success, or feeling the satisfaction of knowing your goal has been realized. Do not focus on how it happened. Focus on the feeling that it has happened. Allow yourself to experience the gratitude, relief, and joy that would naturally accompany fulfillment. These emotions impress the desired state more deeply upon your consciousness. Many people abandon this practice because they become impatient. They assume the wish fulfilled for a short time and then immediately return to questioning whether it is working. They search for signs, measure every circumstance, and become discouraged when immediate changes do not appear. This reaction only pulls them back into the state of wanting. The key is persistence. Continue returning to the feeling of fulfillment regardless of appearances. Refuse to let temporary circumstances dictate your inner reality. Remember that external conditions are often reflections of previous assumptions. New assumptions require time to take root and express themselves. Assuming the wish fulfilled is not about denying reality. It is about choosing a greater reality. It is recognizing that the creative power within you is more important than any current circumstance. The outer world may show one thing today, but your imagination allows you to occupy a different state entirely. By repeatedly dwelling in that state, you gradually transform your beliefs, your expectations, and ultimately your experiences. When you truly assume the wish fulfilled, something remarkable happens. The desire stops feeling distant. The emotional gap between you and your goal begins to disappear. Instead of hoping, you start expecting. Instead of wishing, you start knowing. Instead of living as someone who lacks, you live as someone who possesses. This shift may be invisible to others at first, but it changes everything within you. And as your inner state changes, life begins reflecting that transformation in ways both expected and unexpected. The secret is not to wait for fulfillment to arrive before you feel fulfilled. The secret is to feel fulfilled now. Assume the wish fulfilled, make that feeling natural, and allow your world to reorganize itself around the state you have chosen to occupy. That is where true transformation begins. After you have chosen your desire, embrace the feeling of its fulfillment, stop chasing, relaxed into trust, and assume the wish fulfilled. There remains one final step that many people find the most difficult: allowing reality to catch up. This is where countless individuals unintentionally delay the very things they want. They begin with excitement and faith, but after a short period of time, they become impatient. They start looking for immediate evidence. They question whether anything is happening. They wonder if they are doing it correctly. In doing so, they return their attention to the absence of their desire rather than remaining faithful to its presence within. The challenge is not usually in imagining the desired outcome. The challenge is remaining loyal to that inner vision when the outer world has not yet reflected it. Most people are conditioned to believe that seeing comes before believing. They trust only what is visible and measurable. If circumstances appear unchanged, they assume nothing is happening. Yet many of life's most important processes occur invisibly before they become visible. A seed develops roots beneath the soil long before it breaks through the surface. A building exists as an idea before it becomes a structure. A journey begins with a decision before it becomes a destination. In the same way, every transformation starts within before it appears without. Just because you cannot yet see movement does not mean movement is absent. One of the greatest mistakes people make is constantly checking for results. They examine every situation, every conversation, and every circumstance for proof that their desire is arriving. This habit creates emotional instability because their confidence rises and falls based on what they observe externally. When signs appear, they feel hopeful. When signs disappear, they feel discouraged. Their faith becomes dependent on appearances rather than rooted in conviction. True persistence means remaining faithful to the state you have accepted within, regardless of what current circumstances seem to suggest. Think about a person who has ordered something valuable online. Once the order is confirmed, they may look forward to receiving it, but they do not spend every minute doubting whether it exists. They know it is on its way. There is a sense of certainty that allows them to relax. They continue with their daily life because they trust the process. In much the same way, once you have accepted your desire internally, your role is not to obsess over its arrival. Your role is to maintain the feeling that it is already yours and allow events to unfold naturally. This does not mean becoming passive or refusing to act. Inspired action often arises naturally when you are aligned with your desired state. The difference is that your actions are no longer driven by fear, desperation, or the need to force results. Instead, they flow from confidence and expectation. You begin making choices that reflect the person you have become internally. Opportunities appear, ideas emerge, new connections form. What once felt difficult begins to feel more natural because you are no longer acting from a state of lack. Patience is an essential part of this process. Not because your desire is far away, but because transformation unfolds according to its own rhythm. Every desire has a path from conception to expression. Trying to rush that process often creates resistance. When people become impatient, they start entertaining doubt. They begin questioning whether their efforts are working. They revisit old fears and assumptions. In effect, they abandon the new state they were cultivating. Patience allows the inner change to stabilize until it becomes your dominant way of being. Trust also plays a crucial role. Trust means believing that life can organize itself in ways beyond your current understanding. You do not need to know every step. You do not need to predict every circumstance. The mind often wants complete control over the process. But many of the most remarkable outcomes arrive through unexpected channels. Opportunities emerge from places you never anticipated. Solutions appear when you least expect them. What matters is not controlling the path, but remaining faithful to the destination. When you truly let reality catch up, you stop fighting with the present moment. You no longer see current circumstances as obstacles. Instead, you understand that they are temporary reflections of past assumptions. Your attention remains fixed on the state you have chosen. You continue feeling grateful, confident, and fulfilled even before external confirmation appears. This persistence strengthens the new reality within you until it becomes impossible for the outer world not to reflect it. The final stage of manifestation is not about doing more. It is about trusting more. It is about remaining loyal to the vision you have accepted within yourself. It is about understanding that once a new state has been embraced, life begins moving to mirror it. Your responsibility is not to force the outcome, but to remain aligned with it. Stay faithful to the feeling. Stay committed to the assumption. Stay relaxed in your expectation. And then, often when you least expect it, reality begins to catch up. What once existed only in imagination starts appearing in tangible form. The opportunities arrive. The circumstances change. The doors open. The desire that felt distant becomes part of your everyday experience. Not because you chased it, forced it, or worried it into existence, but because you remained faithful to the state of already having it until the world reflected back what you had first accepted within yourself. As we come to the end of this message, remember this: your power has never been in effort alone. Your power has always been in your ability to assume a new state and remain faithful to it. The world you experience tomorrow is being shaped by the feelings you accept as true today. Stop measuring your progress by what your eyes can currently see. The seed does not appear above the ground the moment it is planted, yet growth is already taking place beneath the surface. In the same way, the moment you accept your desire as fulfilled within yourself, unseen forces begin arranging circumstances, opportunities, people, and events to bring it into visible form. So tonight, relax. Let go of the struggle. Let go of the need to control every detail. Close your eyes and feel the relief, gratitude, joy, and confidence that would naturally be yours if your desire were already fulfilled. Make that feeling your home. Return to it again and again until it becomes natural. You are not waiting for your future. Your future is waiting for you to accept it. Relax into the feeling. Trust the process. Remain faithful to the vision. And watch as life reflects back to you what you first dared to believe within yourself. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on the feeling you want to carry with you from this point forward. Remember, transformation begins within, and every great change starts with a single assumption accepted as true. If you enjoyed this message, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who may need this reminder today. Your support helps these teachings reach more people around the world. Until next time, continue to trust in the unseen, remain faithful to your vision, and most importantly, relax into the feeling of already being the person you desire to be. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next